Kia ora, g'day, welcome back once again, here with part 11 of my reaction to Mr. J. Cal on the Sean Ryan Show. So let's jump back in.
Feel inferior because they are.
Yeah, no, you're bang on, mate. You make a good point, and I think it's something that I've seen before. It, like I said to you before, didn't I? I said experience it's a luxury. It's not a necessity.
Oh, hang on. I think I recall what they're talking about here. They're talking a little bit about, oh yeah, it's got it there, ego and leadership, but around I think Jay was talking about some people when they went out on a patrol doing some more conventional type stuff. This is whilst he's with the regiment by this stage, and some people not having that experience. I don't know that I agree with the comment that Sean has just made in terms of the aspect around they feel inferior because they are. Some of those potential operators within a unit. Yeah, I don't know just because some haven't deployed on operations or may not have deployed to a war zone, I don't think that makes them inferior. That's just their lot, right? They came into the unit at a time when there may not have been operational deployments happening. Does it make them inferior? No, it doesn't. They might feel like that. Some of them might feel like that. So if that's what he's talking about, and some people that might have an ego problem and maybe they feel inferior because they haven't, and so then they want to take it out on those that have been on deployments and operations. I think Sean might have been framing it in that way with the top brass. I think might have been one of the terms that he used. Then those people, maybe they're just idiots. But yeah, I personally wouldn't call or categorize those that didn't have the opportunity to deploy on operations as inferior. That's just, if anything, people that have deployed on operations, and particularly maybe people like Jay and those that have experienced real up close and personal confrontation, they might think those that haven't deployed on that type of, or those types of operations are blessed, are fortunate, because then they're not having to carry the physical and the emotional and the psychological scars of that. But anyway,
but there's definitely an element of command that if they don't have it, they'll lean into it when they need something or when they want an opinion on something, but then they'll sort of shy away from it a little bit, and it's almost like you become punished because you've got experience, or you're over-experienced, or you're overqualified, or these types of things. It's like everyone's entitled to an opinion, but when it comes to a lot of what we do, experience is useful and it should be tapped into. And I do think that you don't see it too much on the sort of non-commission level, but when you've got, especially certain elements of the officer type, the officer class, if you will, like, I think they find that quite difficult, especially in conventional forms, it's not that noticeable, but when you get into higher levels, like, I'm now putting forward a TAC plan based off experience, based off having done this for over a decade at this point, on my last deployment, or, I'm coming up with a course of action in order to effectively execute an operation. And yet the points that you're bringing back to me are nonsense. And you're just showing your inexperience there. Now, it's fine that you haven't done all the stuff that other guys have done, but I think it would be, very naive sometimes to not tap into that and listen to it. You might outrank me, but you definitely haven't done this as much as I have. And it might pay for you to listen to what we're saying, not just me, but the collective, because what we're saying is experience based. We're not making this shit up. Like, that's important. Like, if there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and we're trying to select the right way, then just because you haven't done it or seen it doesn't mean it's not going to work. Does that make sense? And I think especially certain types of officers, depending on the personality, they want control of it, and it wants to be their idea, and it has to be done their way. And that's fine if it's the right way and it's the good option, or if it isn't, then you're going to get challenged on it. But then there's almost this like, well, I'm in charge type mentality, and it's like it's quite frustrating. It's quite frustrating.
He's bang on, man, with regards to what he's talking about and the different types of people, and you see that come to light on selection. So that's another beautiful aspect about selection. I probably saw it more in the Australian selection because there's more team-based stuff, some more patrol-based stuff during the Australian selection than there was in the New Zealand one. And then obviously I've never been a part of what the officer testing and stuff is like once they finish selection and they go on, in both NZ and Australia, they go on and do the officer testing piece or portion. But during selection in Australia anyway, you get to see who's who, not only the officers, but also the ORs, the NCOs, the non-commissioned officers, the privates, when you're put in charge, who has those types of traits. It has to be my idea. It has to be my way. Those that don't have the ability to be flexible enough, be humble enough to take on board the feedback from other people within the team that you're in charge to lead, but can somehow lose sight of the fact that there's more than one way to skin this cat or to complete this task or this mission. So I really enjoy listening to what he's talking about there, with them presenting the plans based on experience to try to select the better of the two options or the better of the 3, 4, 5 options because they've lived it. And there's 100% right. There's a power in that. But there's also, to his point that he made earlier, and in the early part of his interview, that you don't necessarily have to have experience to deploy on operations. It helps. 100% it helps. Don't get me wrong. And I think he's made that point abundantly clear as well when he's been speaking. But I think I forget the examples when he spoke about nobody had experience when they first deployed to Northern Ireland. Nobody had experience when they first deployed to Iraq, when they first deployed to Afghanistan, when they first deployed to Vietnam, etc., etc. You learn those things. You're having to adapt and be flexible and learn on the fly. So there is I don't know if you call it a balance, but there's validity to both of those terms. Experience is great, definitely, if you've got it. And that's what I was thinking of when he said the words, you should tap into that. You should tap into that experience.
It's detrimental to the country as well.
Yeah, it's detrimental to the output.
You have for your country and for my country, but you have this wealth of knowledge and all this experience, and then they become demoralized because of the inferior complex, and they leave. Yeah. And when they leave,
you're left with all the Ruperts or the Muppets, not just officers, but you're left with, the disgruntled, the people that are just quite happy staying in there. And this is not by any way a comment towards those that have had long, awesome, honourable careers, really service-driven, continuing to put in and give back. But there probably are a handful of people, maybe more than a handful of people, that stick around and they're just, they're like that dark cloud that comes into the room and everybody then goes quiet when they come in, or they find reasons or opportunities to get up and leave the room. You probably have a few of those in the Defence Force. But I like what they're talking about here, and sorry for cutting in again. But just before I forget, I think there's a value in trying to retain the knowledge of those soldiers from any force, whether it's police force, paramedics, firefighters, Navy, Air Force, Army, across whatever level. If they have been in for X amount of time and they've got X amount of experience, particularly operational experience, whether it's conventional and or SF, man, it would be, I think if you ask most of those people, they would be more than willing to, even if it was voluntarily, give their time to come in and help out or assist or instruct or lecture, present to the next generation coming through. I think there's a value in that. I think it would be helpful. I think it not only helps the Defence Force or those relevant first responder groups or areas in general, I think it also is helpful for the individual that's leaving. And I think, if anything, that could potentially help the transition. But anyway, I digress.
You lose all of that experience that could be passed on to the next generation.
100%.
Which lessens our capabilities, which it's sad.
It's frustrating.
It's sad. It's a fucking bureaucracy that needs to change. And so anybody that's listening to this, from UK government, American government, any government, anybody who wants to have an effective military, you know, you need that experience. I mean, I could go on forever. I mean, we interviewed Captain Brad Geary, who was an amazing human being. Dallas Alexander, you know, the Canadian soft guy that was on the sniper team that took a 2.1 mile fucking shot. It was ridiculous. the world record shot. And they kicked him out. They kicked him off the fucking team.
Some bullshit.
World record sniper kill. And they just took that experience and brushed it off. Nobody in the world has taken a shot like that.
He's a one of one. One of one.
And that experience is gone.
I felt that. I felt that towards the end.
That is sad. 100% agree with what Sean's talking about there. And it's sad that Jay has felt that towards the end as well. Crazy. But I love hearing that. I felt myself feeling, I was like, yes, that's just what I was thinking. And I think I've shared similar sort of comments like that before on other reaction videos. Like, there's a power in trying to not necessarily retain those that are leaving or those that are ready or wanting to leave, but how good would it be to go, hey, do you reckon you could come in and help out with some instruction? Would you like to come in and speak to this new cohort of people? They're getting ready for whatever it is, or they're preparing for whatever it is, based on your experience. You know, would you like to, you know, come in, have a chat with them, whatever? There's a value in that, eh? Man.
Yeah, there was a few things that happened in my career that I got punished for that I was like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Like, this is bullshit. This is like minor things, right? Like, do you want me to be good at being an operator? Do you want me to be effective on the battlefield? Do you want me to have, you know, the ability to change something? Do you want me to provide solutions to problems? Do you want me to go and be effective and do my job? But if you do, then you have to know that it comes with the whole package. You know, the reason that I'm able to do that is because of these things. So if, you know, for example, I mean, slightly digress, but like, yeah, no shit, I'm fucking drinking too much. No shit, I'm probably spending too much time, you know, doing whatever. Or maybe I'm not, you know, maybe I should have had a bit more respect for somebody, or shouldn't have said that. But like, if you want me to be, if you employed me to be this person, you've selected me because of the character traits that I've got and my ability to be effective on the battlefield. But you can't have it both ways. Like, do you want me to be a camp commando, or do you want me to be a commando? Which one do you want? Because they very seldomly link up. The best operators that I know and have worked with and seen, like, none of those are those squeaky clean white knight types. And those types of characters very seldomly have the experience to back it. I don't believe in white knights. I think everybody's got something going on at some point. But those that try and take the moral high ground on stuff, or, you know, give us a culture review or this or that, or try and pull like the moral high ground, it's like, we're out there trying to have an impact. We're out there trying to have an effect on the enemy. That's what the British Army is for. That's what any army is for. It doesn't matter what unit you're at. It's about having an effect against the enemy. Like, and I think it's worse in peacetime. I think in peacetime, the army doesn't know what to do with itself, so it just creates bullshit. You know, it's like, oh, this, or it's that, or it could, you know, it's trivial stuff. Don't wear those shoes. You got to wear that. Shave your face. Like,
that's how they hide behind the inexperience.
That's
and
what
a good leader will take that experience from their subordinates. They'll embrace it. They'll utilize it. They'll acknowledge it.
Yep.
And then become a phenomenal leader.
Yep.
But the ego gets in the way.
You took the word out of my mouth, and it's something that I definitely have learned to come to terms with, and something that I was fucking not aware of. Ego management would be my number one thing that I would say to a new guy checking into a squadron. I'd say, you need to manage that shit, because it will fucking take you down a path that you don't want to go down. And if you're not even aware of it, I haven't got an ego. Dude, we've all got egos. We've all got one. Male, female, doesn't make a difference. But if you're not aware of it and you don't keep it in check, then it's going to be a problem, you know. And my ego management was non-existent for a long time, and I wasn't arrogant. I try not to be arrogant. I was very sure of myself, but it gets to a point where you realize that you are capable. You realize that you do have that experience. You realize that you are quite, you know, able to, you're able to do a whole bunch of different skill sets. You get comfortable with it. And at that point that's when you really need to keep it in check, because it can be quite easy to let that run away with you. And then you can come across as arrogant or, overhyped or all these things. And I think, ego management is something that I've definitely learned the hard way through, and I'm still not perfect, far from it. I'm just trying to manage it a little bit better these days.
There's a cool book that comes to mind just as Jay and Sean have been speaking about ego, and I'm pretty sure it's by Ryan Halliday. Ego is the Enemy. Awesome little book. It's probably in storage in some of our gear somewhere here in the motel, probably in one of the boxes. But it's a cool little book, fairly thick. Can't remember how many pages, but Ego is the Enemy. Awesome book. Ryan Halliday. He's got a number of cool books. I think The Obstacle is the Way is another one of his books. But yeah, really enjoyed that. And so hearing Jay speaking about your ego and the fact that, yes, everybody's got an ego, including me. We all still have an ego. I still have an ego. Trying to manage that, ego management. I like that, keeping it in check. Yeah, man, it's definitely tripped me up in the past, and no doubt will trip me up again in the future, moving forward as well. So, top tip for young players.
Well, I think you're doing a damn good job. I mean, at the beginning of this, you were hesitant to talk about these type of experiences.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that's pressing you.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that's pulling it out of you. I know you don't want to talk about this shit, but it's important.
Yeah, it is important. Like I said to you before, Sean, people will look at it. I'm no fucking poster boy, dude. I've fucked up so much stuff in my career. I fucked up loads of stuff professionally, emotionally. Yeah.
What's the biggest fuck up you think you've done?
That's a good question.
It's just what I was thinking. Bloody hell, that's a really good question. Big question. So let's hear what Jay has to say. I'm thinking just before he does, sorry to butt in again, I reckon he'll probably select something to do with his personal or family upbringing, or maybe not upbringing, family life, as opposed to military. Or maybe he'll choose one from each. Who knows?
That is a good question. I think I got carried away in the life and the status of being that guy for a little bit longer than I should have. I think I went through a period of being over the moon to have been in the squadron, and the first 6 months, 2 years was the best start I could have got. Lots of deployments, lots of gunfights, lots of everything, and it was all good. And then I think I kind of got a little bit comfortable with that and rested on my laurels a little bit. And I think I spent probably between 2 years to probably about 4 or 5 years not being as professional as I could be, because I was always at the standard that I needed to be. And I wasn't trying to really get that 1% out, really trying to squeeze it. And it's not to say that I was lazy or complacent, because I was fucking far from lazy and complacent, but I was probably a bit more interested in driving a nice car or having a nice watch or, a pretty girlfriend than I probably was about making sure that my fucking CQB was the best it could be, or my jumping was the best it could be. My CQB was good enough. My jumping was good enough. Like that kind of good enough mentality. I think I had that for too long. And then when I really did ramp it up, it was because I decided not to drink alcohol for 1,000 days. I decided one day, that's it, I've had enough. It makes me feel like shit. I don't want to live that life anymore. I need to make some changes. I'm hurting people. It's having a detrimental effect on my career. I'm making bad decisions. I was a fucking loose cannon for a while in the squadron, for sure.
Well, I was way off. But it's cool to hear him speak about and acknowledge the things of where he was at. He was at that good enough mentality for a period, it might be considered a long period or too long a period, depending on who's listening to it or listening to him, or depending on who he may have been working with. But the thing is, he's been honest and opened up about it, and he identified it, and thankfully he sounds like he turned a corner of his own free will and volition and got himself sorted out, which is cool to hear.
And no matter how good you are, how effective you are, you still got to be in harmony with the group. And I don't think I was necessarily. I think I had a mentality of, I'm fucking doing it my way because that's the only way I know. And I think I should have slowed down a little bit on that. And just, yeah, I mean, I got in fucking, I was reduced in rank once. I had a couple of 3-month warnings. Like, I was a handful. And I got to the point, and this is not making excuses, but I just didn't want to fucking listen to people anymore. Listen to people that I knew to be less experienced or of a different mindset to me. And I should have been more accommodating to that. And I should have had more emotional intelligence to be able to navigate that better.
Man, it's I can resonate with everything he's just saying there. What he's talking about just makes me reflect on the tunnel vision that I had with regards to when I was in the regiment. Got a taste for deployment and operations, and then once I had that, that's all I wanted to do. I was like, yep, this is what I joined for. Send me out for months at a time, deploy me, send me away. This is what I joined up for. I don't care about anything else. He said, what did he say? A camp commando or a marine commando or a real commando, something like that. Because yeah, those two don't align. You got camp soldiers, and then you've got soldiers that like to get amongst it. I like to consider myself in that group that like to be out and getting amongst it, not stuck in a camp, not worrying about burning all the threads on the uniform or that the ribbons and everything are all straight and neat and tidy. That the drill is bang on. I felt like I'd done all of that stuff. Now I just want to be deployed. I just want to do this job. But yeah, I didn't have the emotional intelligence or the bloody brains to pull my head in sooner.
Where it was like, if you didn't agree with my philosophy or my sort of my ethics, I suppose, then it was, it was a kind of a fuck you type mentality, That didn't serve me well. I don't regret anything I've ever done in the military. I don't. And when I look back retrospectively, yeah, I could have done some stuff differently, but I also know that's part of who I am and why I did it. And if I hadn't have done those things or behaved in certain ways or, been reckless maybe, then I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I'm good with the person I am today. We've talked a lot about stuff that's happened in the past, but, bottom line is I can look myself in a mirror and I'm far from fucking perfect, dude. If I practiced what I preached, I'd be perfect. But I don't. I'm human, and I'm trying to relearn how to be an actual human being. I'm not an operator anymore. That's a difficult thing to do. So I'm more in touch with that, if that makes sense. I'm more connected to my own process and to my own sort of emotions, if you will. But for a very long time, I was just trying to be that dude, and it didn't really serve me.
Did you come to a realization that you needed to change?
Yeah.
What triggered that?
And that's a great question and a good response by Jay. I think we all get to the stage where we realize we need to change. We're not in the place where we were. So in the regiment, as an example, if I share that as an experience, I'm not there anymore. The people that I'm working with aren't former operators. They're not current operators. They are civilians that have been civilians their whole entire time. They're doing their work. It's a different mindset, a different mentality. I needed to try to make some adjustments whilst trying to, as best I could, stay true to my value set and what I believe is right and wrong and how I choose to interact and communicate and serve and work with other people, or choose to not work and serve with other people. So yeah, there's some steep learning, man. There's a lot of, there has been and was for me, and the need to change. Yeah, I realized that not long after I'd finished in the private security space. So not straight after leaving the military, because as I've mentioned, I was serving and working with some heavy hitters in terms of the private sector space, and it was awesome. And did that for a few years. And then after that, once I was home and I'd stopped and said, yeah, I'm done with that piece, thinking that it would be easy, and then discovering that it wasn't, and it took me years. So definitely a need to change. Let's see what Jay has to say.
If you want me to be honest, I put a pistol in my mouth a couple of times, and that fucking changed my life. It got to a point after a bunch of deployments, a whole bunch of shit had happened. My grandma, I lost my grandma. Matt got killed. A close family friend got killed in a weird accident. I fucking watched a helicopter crash. Been fucking blown up. The whole box just, and I was just at the lowest point I'd ever been. And it was almost like the one thing that I had that kept me going had stopped working. The deployments, the combat, all that shit was what kept me alive, and I started to become immune to it. And I just didn't fucking feel anything, and I didn't look forward to anything. And I didn't really see a way out of it, if I'm honest. And it just seemed hopeless for a long time. And I fought it, and I fought it, and I fought it. And then one day I nearly gave up fighting it. And I didn't, thank God. But that sobers you up pretty fucking quickly. Because that was ready to go. I remember it clear as day. I was at the end of a range. I'd been punished for some bullshit at work. Like fucking doesn't even grant a conversation with you. It doesn't even warrant it. But I'd basically been told that, promotion prospects were fucking zero. I was probably looking to get out of the squadron. I didn't feel valued. I was made to feel like shit, basically. And
Man, that's disappointing to hear. Sorry to cut him off there. It's nearly 30 minutes anyway, so I'm going to wrap this up here. But some thoughts that come to mind, just really, it's sad, heartbreaking to hear him speak about being that close, putting a pistol in his mouth a couple of times, looking to end it all. The things that he saw, which sounds like they were adding to that and just not looking forward to anything. Yeah, that's a dark, heavy, lonely space to be, miserable place to be. Lines up with the message that I share at the end with regards to anybody. You don't have to be an SF operator, an ex-SF operator, or a military person at all to have those lonely, dark, miserable times. You just don't. And so hearing him speak about that, just, man, this glad that he didn't follow through with it, like you said. Disappointing to hear that he was made to feel that way based on what he's saying. Now, I get it. There's always two sides to every story, etc., etc. And we're getting one version of it here. So, yeah, I'm mindful of that. But the other key part for me that comes to my mind, man, I would love to sit down, have a chat with the Kiwi lads that have gone over, done the UK selection, gotten badged, served there. There's at least one guy that I know of. Oh man, he's the only reason that I believe he's the only reason that I even got a look in with the private security company when I got out of the Australian regiment. He was one of the instructors for a time during my cycle in NZ. And then, yeah, he was the team leader when I first got to the team with regards to the private security work in Baghdad. And then, he went back. He went back to 2-2 to go back to the unit, and he's still there now, as far as I know. But yeah, and he's just one that comes to mind. There's a bunch of other Kiwi guys that have gone there and served, and I think there's at least one guy that's come back and is back in the NZ unit now. So he's had years and years of experience over there. And he's brought that years and years of experience back to the NZ unit. So how good is that? There's some bloody legends in terms of, in my opinion, former Kiwi SAS operators and or current Kiwi SAS operators and or current UK operators that have come from the NZ stock, so to speak, who did things here in NZ and then went to the UK where the SAS was founded and originated from, and they've had amazing careers over there. Will I ever get a chance to speak with them? Yeah, I don't know. Probably not, but wishful thinking. Maybe if I say it out loud enough times, one of them might hear and one of them might be open to having a chat, particularly the guy that I've got in my head. And I was lucky enough to speak with him when I was still doing the Epic Aotearoa podcast. He cracked me because, "You're not filming, are you?" It's like, "Nah, bro, I'm not filming. Would never do that to him. I'm still active in the unit, or in the regiment over there in the UK." But anyway, I've significantly digressed. I've chimed in a lot on this one. Lots of good talking points and stuff in here. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate you and your time, your support. It really does mean the world to me. Thank you very much for that. And as always, anybody going through any hard times, difficulties, challenges, keep turning up, keep staying in the fight, put one foot in front of the other, take one day at a time. Things do get better. I promise you, things do get better. It doesn't matter if you don't need to be a first responder, military, anything. Everybody goes through hard times, dark times. Just know that things do get better. There is a light at the end of that tunnel, and those better days are closer than you think. I promise you the sun will shine again. So as always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video, there's a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.